I'm Marco Giannini, Communications and Engagement Officer at Salford CCG, and today we're talking to Dr. Tom Tasker, Clinical Workstream for Mental Health, about stress. April is Stress Awareness Month in the USA. Although this is a predominantly American-based campaign, is stress a growing concern in the UK, and are there any figures to back this up?
That's an interesting question. If you look at the figures for work-related stress, then there's, the levels have remained static over the last decade. If you look anecdotally at what comes through a GP's door and the sort of mental health services that provide talking therapies into primary care, then they would say that certainly over the last 5 years we've seen increasing levels of stress. And this seems to be largely related to the economic climate, the clampdown on benefits by the current coalition government, things like the bedroom tax. So yes, we're seeing more people presenting with stress, and I think if we look in the workplace, we're all under increasing pressure. There's less of us to do the same amount of work. So stress is a very prevalent problem.
What are the main causes of stress? Are there any symptoms that people should be looking out for? And are there any less obvious symptoms that people could be suffering with stress?
Okay, well, when we think of the main causes of stress, we obviously think of life events. And your top 3 life events are bereavement of a spouse, divorce and moving house. So all of those are stressful life events. But we tend to think of life events as negative, but even positive life events can be stressful. Changing jobs, going on holiday, Christmas. So there's lots of things out there that can cause stress, and any change in the workplace that you have to adapt to will potentially create stress. In terms of the kind of symptoms that people might experience, these can vary. So, for some people it can be quite obvious. Someone's quite agitated, their head's up, they're struggling to unwind, you're not sleeping at night, you're shouting at everybody. But then there's other more subtle symptoms. So some people might withdraw into their own shell, and they might sort of stop engaging, stop wanting to sort of go out and do things. So there's a whole host of different symptoms that stress might present with. Some cognitive, some emotional, some physical. It can cause you to feel anxious, sweaty, tremor, those kind of symptoms. And it's really about one's own self-awareness and having insight, because often you don't see stress creeping up on you, but other people can see it before you do.
Is stress just a part of day-to-day life, or are there any elements of stress that actually are good for people's health?
Yeah, I guess stress is something that we all experience probably on a daily basis. Most of us, it's fairly short-lived, and it might just be a bit of anxiety. You think you're going to be late for an appointment, and you're rushing to get there. And once you get to the appointment, you sort of calm yourself down, and you settle, and you're fine. And obviously, stress is helpful in terms of your own performance. If you're too laid back, you don't perform to the same level that a little bit of stress can give you. The problem lies when stress becomes counterproductive, when it becomes overwhelming, and then it really does affect not only your performance in the workplace, but also how you function on a daily basis. And it can have repercussions in terms of your outside relationships. So your family can suffer, your friends. So it can be quite destructive, and something that we need to be very aware of.
So what measures can people take to lower their levels of stress?
Okay, well, I think the first thing is obviously to be self-aware, and if you've got that insight into your own stress levels, then it can enable you to manage it much more effectively. But in terms of general day-to-day principles, the kind of things that are good for your general mental health. So things like being active. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to the gym every evening. It could be going for a run, taking a bike ride, sort of taking a nice walk in the park. Whatever it is, exercise is a helpful way of burning off stress. It helps to reduce the emotional intensity of stress, and it's good for your general health as well. Take control. That if you can take control of the situation, avoid procrastinating. If you're not sure what to do, try to problem solve the situation. Also, learning to say no. Something that not many of us are good at, but that's another important aspect of managing your own workload and taking control and reducing your level of stress. And connecting with people. Having good formal and informal support networks is invaluable. So, take time to spend with your family, with your friends, with your work colleagues, build those relationships, and they can act as a resource so that when you are feeling sort of hats off or things are getting on top of you, you've got people you can go and talk to. It's wise to avoid unhealthy habits. So by that I'm thinking alcohol, caffeine, smoking. As a short-term measure, it might make you feel a bit better, but unfortunately it doesn't take away the stress. And things like alcohol can affect your sleep pattern and obviously affect your work performance the next day. So try to avoid those kind of things that we all sometimes overindulge in. And acceptance of the things that you can't change. There's some things you can change in your life, in your day-to-day work, but then there's some things that you can't. If you can't change something, don't try and fight it, because that's not going to be helpful. Adapt, work around it, move on, but change the things that you can, that you have control over. And also, I think most importantly, make time for yourself, to relax, to enjoy yourself. Try to make sure that every day you do something for you. That's not just for other people, that's not just for work, for your family, that's for you. Increasingly people are finding meditation and mindfulness, yoga, as excellent ways of relaxing. There's a really good website called take10breaths.com, which, if you're struggling, you're feeling stressed, just take a little bit of time out. You can do it at work, at home, before bed. Just take 10 deep breaths whilst watching the computer screen. That'll just help you to relax.
Thank you very much.